When I first decided to switch law firms, I started calling recruiters on the phone and talking to them. And I realized that most of them, regardless of whether they were attorneys, didn't even understand what I did for a living. And that was a little disconcerting because they couldn't understand what I did for a living. It was very difficult for them to even understand the legal market. Attorneys are different practice areas or subspecialties within litigation and within corporate and so forth. And it's very surprising, but a lot of recruiters don't even understand what other people do for a living. Another thing that I discovered was that a lot of the recruiters didn't have access to many jobs. They might have 5 or 6 jobs or 20 jobs, but when the market was as large as it was, I mean, there were literally hundreds of law firms that had openings. And so it was very interesting to me that the recruiters didn't have access to the jobs. Another thing that I saw was that recruiters were very quick to try to get me to accept offers or to go on interviews when the law firm wasn't a good match and it wasn't a place I could potentially see myself working. And I saw a lot of recruiters that were very aggressive and more salespeople rather than advisors and the sort of people that I'd take advice from. I believe that a recruiter should be someone that the candidate can look up to and that can actually advise the candidate and has good information. And if you look at the background of all of our recruiters, they have very, very strong backgrounds and they've achieved at a high level. And one of the tests of someone becoming a recruiter at our placement firm, BCG Attorney Search, is they really have to be the exact sort of people we could also place. The other thing is what I noticed is when it came to the written work of the recruiters I was seeing, I would often find misspellings, formatting issues, a lack of clarity, and really kind of an inability to make my case about why I should be working in a given firm. And a lot of times their writing just appeared to be cut and pasted from other documents. Almost all the time when I called the recruiter on the phone, the call would go directly to voicemail. One thing we like to do at BCG Attorney Search is we always have people answering the phones during business hours to make sure that calls aren't missed. And it made me angry when I started seeing the way that recruiters were treating candidates and the level of assistance that was out there to someone that wanted to look at other firms, because it's difficult to become an attorney. It's difficult to become an attorney and work in a good firm, and you want to keep your career going and you want to advance. So because of what I saw, it made me very motivated to start BCG Attorney Search. So there's kind of like 2 ways to think about it. A recruiter tends to be an opportunistic type of thing. They may be driven by trying to fill a single job opening or going out and finding people and really just making a quick match and making money. Recruiters can't typically discuss the market in a lot of depth. They don't really understand things at a very high level. They just are trying to get people to go to interviews and accept jobs and find jobs to send them to. A legal placement professional is much different. A legal placement professional is actually motivated by the person and by understanding what their needs are and constantly improving, giving people advice that can help them advance in their career, and basically being a placement advisor as opposed to someone that kind of sells them something. If you go into a fast food restaurant, there's a cashier and the cashier will take your money and that will just be a sale. And so that's one way to think about recruiters, is they're just someone who's just trying to make a sale. There's no relationship, there's nothing really special, it's just kind of 2 people crossing in the night. I think of legal placement professionals in BCG Attorney Search as clients. So, when they represent someone, that person's a client. And the definition of a client is someone that's under the care and protection of another. And that's much different than your relationship with a salesperson. A recruiter is selling their time, but they typically will work with someone, and if that person doesn't get interviews, they'll just stop working with them. And you may get the mistaken conclusion if you work with a recruiter that you're not marketable because your search is going nowhere. And this is what happens to almost a large portion of people that work with a recruiter. The recruiter will contact them about some openings or jobs, and they will never hear from the recruiter again because the person will not get any traction. The reason for that is just a lack of understanding the market, a lack of being able to educate them and get them out to more opportunities. And I think that that's kind of the main thing. You're going to miss other opportunities if you work with most recruiters. You're not going to understand the whole market. And most recruiters also work in limited regions, like they'll only work in a certain city or market, and so they're not going to understand the breadth of opportunities that are really out there that you could be doing, which is very important. Recruiting is something where the person doing the recruiting really only understands a few jobs and a limited amount of the market, and they understand how to target individual attorneys that may fit those few jobs. A recruiter will learn a little bit about a job, they'll start calling people about the job, and they'll know enough about the job to tell you something about it, and they will try to get you the job. That's it. Recruiters are not necessarily equipped to advise you, to get you other jobs, or to place you in a suitable position. And one of the things too about recruiters, and this isn't a nice thing to say, but it's true, many attorneys that are in the recruiting business are people that really weren't very interested or good at the practice of law when they did it. And they only pursued recruiting in the first place because it looked like an easier job. This isn't necessarily the type of person that you want representing you, because a recruiter is someone whose job is to help you find a new position, to go out there and be aggressive and to succeed. And so why would you have someone that didn't succeed at one job helping you in a job that's completely different? I mean, it's unlikely. So that's one of the things. And then another thing I think is many recruiters are not interested necessarily in advancing the careers of attorneys. Instead, they're just interested in commissions. That's all they talk about. They make money and buy nice purses or whatever. It's not an advisory type role. Recruiters are very good at talking. Like, they can talk a good game. They'll say certain things to get you to send them the resume. They'll say certain things to get you to go on interviews and accept jobs. When it comes down to it, they really aren't well placed to help you in your job search unless you just want to be forced into a certain position that matches what they're looking for. One of the problems that I see with most legal recruiters, and it's not certainly all legal recruiters, but one of the problems that I see with them is that most legal recruiters have very limited understanding of the market. Our company has over 150 employees. We have like 250 servers combing websites of law firms and other places looking for jobs every day, and programmers, and all these resources that we're using to try to find as many jobs in the market as possible. And because of all those resources, we have a very good understanding of what's going on in the market. Now, the majority of recruiters, I mean, almost every recruiting firm in the country doesn't have anywhere near the resources that we have. And because of that, when someone goes to the recruiter, they're just getting a very limited slice of what's in the market. In a market like Los Angeles, there's 2,500 law firms that you can, I mean, that's huge. And it's similar in New York City and Texas and different markets. So there's a ton of potential opportunities out there that an attorney can work in. And because there's so many opportunities, your job as a job searcher should be to find the place that's going to offer you the most long-term opportunity, that's going to offer you the best income, the most comfortable environment, the best work, the working with the people that you like. And if you can't get that based on working with a person that may not have access to the market, that's a problem. It's also a problem if you don't have the ability to get a job quickly because you're not being exposed to enough places and the recruiter doesn't know about a lot of things. So the other thing about recruiters is a lot of them just have bad reputations because they'll say whatever it takes to get a commission. So if you have an offer and you're not interested in it, or you have an interview and you don't like the firm, the odds are they're going to do whatever they can to get you to accept the offer to go on the interview. And then the other thing that's kind of interesting is most recruiting firms, the way it works is a recruiter gets a job. In BCG Attorney Search, what happens is all the jobs are available to everyone that works in the company. We divide the legal placement professionals up into regions, and they look at all the jobs there, but all the jobs in the regions are available. And we want them to be experts in their regions, that's why we have regions. But in many legal recruiting firms, the job order is handed out. So someone gives that recruiter a job, and then the recruiter is responsible for calling all the people in the city that might match the job. So that's kind of how it happens. But if you get called by one of those recruiters and you go on an interview, you may get a job. You may find maybe a good firm that you're called for, and it may be something that matches what you're interested in. But the odds are going to be very slim that it is, because you're only seeing one job or a small percentage of the market. Yeah, that's true. So that's exactly what we do, is we get the candidate and then we work with that candidate to find the job. It kind of turns everything around. Legal placement is you get the candidate and then you work with the candidate to find them a job. And then recruiting, you get the job and then you work you work to find the candidate. And so it's kind of a completely different business. And the skill set required is completely different. To be a recruiter is a sales job. And to be a placement professional is a counseling job. It's a client service job, and it's where the person that's a legal placement professional is doing whatever they can to find the right opportunity for that person. And that's what makes our company so different. It's what makes it so spectacular. I mean, and it gets so many people jobs, and you can see on our site all the testimonials, and it's real. And our understanding of the market is profound, and it even upsets people. It's a different mindset. Placement professional is going to be using the entire market as a guide, as opposed to just having an individual and giving them a few openings. A placement professional can look at small markets, small firms, large firms, firms that don't have openings, just a ton of potential opportunities. The placement professional is always going to ask what firms potentially have a practice that matches what my candidate is, and that's powerful. It's important for a serious attorney that's very serious about their career to work with a placement professional, I believe. I mean, it's going to get them a job that matches what they have in terms of their skill set and interest, much more likely than working with a recruiter. A placement professional is committed to the people they work with. When I start working with someone, they don't stop hearing from me. I mean, I have people that I've been working with for years that I continually will work with and send openings and send them out on interviews, and I don't stop working with someone because they don't get interviews right away. I mean, we just keep working together. It's not, we don't stop. A placement professional isn't interested in just working with someone on a one-off basis and then moving on to the next person. They keep people in their pool of candidates, and they continually send them openings. My candidates have always heard from me once a week. I always send them new positions and research the market for them once a week, and that's important. I also send a report once a week showing what's happened. The second thing I think is that a placement professional tends to have very significant experience in the legal industry, and they're attracted in doing the job of a legal placement professional for the right reasons. Our company is intentionally the size it is in terms of the number of recruiters that we have, because the people that we have as our legal placement professionals, but they're also called recruiters because that's just the industry jargon, but the people that we have as our legal placement professionals are really exceptional. I mean, they're committed, they have very good backgrounds, they've always been high-level achievers, and they come into this company with a drive and interest in the subject matter, and the company is interested in them because the company wants their candidates to be well taken care of and not treated like sales commodities. So because we have very good legal placement professionals, they're able to bond with our candidates, they're able to effectively make the case of why that person belongs in a certain law firm, and they can understand the differences between law firms and advise attorneys when to stay or leave a law firm. The third thing that I think is very important is our legal placement professionals also have access to all the jobs in the market, and not just a few jobs. I mean, there's 25,000 good-sized law firms in the country, that have different practice groups and so forth in them. I mean, that's a big industry, and these 25,000 good-sized law firms use recruiters, and they all have positions that could be a good fit for a candidate at any time. And we have over 100 people that are doing nothing but scouring, looking for jobs for those candidates. And so that's important. That's one of the benefits of a legal placement professional, is they're kind of going all out to find the right jobs. And because we're serious placement professionals, we're generally able to find several new openings for our candidates each week, which I think is important. The fourth thing about a legal placement professional is that a legal placement professional is going to typically have access to multiple legal markets, because you may have a certain skill that is not necessarily going to be marketable in your market. So I have, right now, like a candidate that's an FDA attorney in Chicago, and there's not many FDA practices for attorneys in Chicago. So this candidate's looking at firms in Washington, D.C., and they're looking at firms in Los Angeles, and there's just, a legal placement professional is going to be able to advise you of different markets, and they'll be able to work with you across different markets where there may be positions. In contrast, most recruiters are only going to have access to a few openings in different markets. The other thing is that a legal placement professional is going to understand that certain personalities will work in one market and not another. I mean, the type of attorney that succeeds in Los Angeles is going to be different in a lot of respects the type of attorney that succeeds in Washington, D.C. They're just different markets. So placement professional can help you find the right market. The fifth thing is that a legal placement professional will have access to sophisticated technology. So technology is very important for legal placement professionals because law firms tend to hire people that apply the earliest. And so a good legal placement professional is going to be able to get those jobs instantly, like as soon as they become available, and send them to their candidates. It's very important because if you're one of the first to apply, then you're more likely to get a job. Most legal recruiters will only track a limited number of openings, and they only learn about them and then they get the word out slowly. The people that we work with get these jobs in real time as they come out. We use very highly customized databases to track who'd be the best fit for a certain position. For the past 20 years, we've kept a database of every job that we've had. So we can go back and see patterns of firms that hire every couple of years in certain practice groups. We also use data science to zero in and understand markets in a very sophisticated way that goes beyond hunches and other types of things. And so what makes it so amazing about the work that we do at BCG Attorney Search is the majority of placements that we make are with firms that don't even have openings. So that would be unheard of to a recruiter. I would say, from my standpoint, 70% of the placements that I make are with firms that don't even have openings. So that's because we understand the market so well. It's just not something that an average recruiter could do. And so if we know a firm is likely to be interested in someone, just because of the person's background, it gives us a huge competitive advantage. And it gives our candidates a huge competitive advantage compared to competitors. The other thing about a legal placement professional is a legal placement professional will emphasize work product differently. So the legal placement professional is going to believe that their work product reflects on how well a candidate is viewed. So they want to be as professional as possible. Your choice of who represents you in your job search says something about you. So we're very serious about the work product we do for our candidates. We want our candidates to stand out. In addition, we provide a lot of in-depth information about our candidates to law firms when they see them. It helps educate them about how to hire more effectively. So we're not just pitching resumes, and we're giving a lot of information. We're interviewing people that we speak with and work with and really putting your best foot forward for you. And then the other thing about a legal placement professional is that the emphasis is more on building strong relationships with law firms and not just a few firms. So most traditional legal recruiters have certain firms that they will call to get people, so they'll call out of those firms, and then they'll have other firms who'll put people in. So it's kind of a strange relationship, but they typically are always in the process of rating one firm and putting people in the other. So because of that, they will work with half the firms in a given city. Half the large firms that they want to recruit from, and they steal people from one firm to put them in another. So they are kind of bifurcated in terms of the way they work. But a legal placement professional wants to keep the entire market open. So they don't raid firms. Instead, they spend time attracting people through their presence in the market, through their reputation, and so forth. And this is how we get most of our candidates that we work with. The eighth thing is that a legal placement professional generally has a real interest in the subject matter. They find helping people interesting and they love it, and they're not doing it just to make money. So in my experience, recruiters are typically driven by money. It's not like they're not trying to make a major impact on the world or change things. They're different. And a legal placement professional treats their work just as seriously as lawyers treat the legal profession. The ninth thing is that legal placement professionals are constantly striving to evolve and become better. So a typical recruiter may literally go to sales seminars and work on things like closing and other techniques to get people to do certain things that may not be in their best interest. A legal placement professional is constantly doing other things, like they're training in another direction. They're trying to learn about markets, they're trying to learn about firms, they're trying to learn about market trends and where the best opportunities are for attorney. And placement means you work with a person and give them everything you have until that person finds a position that suits their interests, talents, or goals. It's just different from recruiting. And as placement professionals at BCG Attorney Search, we're highly committed to the profession, take our role very, very seriously. It's not a one-shot thing when we're working with someone. We work with people and we stick with them, and that's sort of the way it works. Legal placement is not the same thing as legal recruiting. Legal placement requires a long-term view of understanding people, respect for the profession, and a commitment to stand behind people and get them the jobs they want and deserve. And legal placement is about improving careers and lives.